Hello, welcome to Movie Reviews with Kyle. Krishna's Little Helper gave me the idea to do this. So, I'm going to talk about movies. Let's see, we're going to do Stone, that I've seen lately. Owels of Gaul, Paranormal Activity, Hangbang, Triage, A Kind of Love Story, Due Date, 127 Hours, Green Hornet, Romantics, Beaver, Time Traveler's Wife, Gamer, Duchess, some weird movie I can't remember, Robin Hood, True Grit, and King's Speech. Okay. So let's start with Stone. I thought Stone was crap. I saw Stone. Let's do Little Fockers. I'm going to remember a whole bunch of movies while I'm doing this. So, starring Edward Norton, Mila Jovovich, and Robert De Niro. It was amazing how they CGI'd Robert De Niro's face at the beginning. He was a young Robert De Niro, and it was Robert De Niro, dude. It was like how they did it. Tron. How they did it with Jeff Bridges in Tron. That was amazing. Yeah, that was a fucked up movie. I hate movies about fucked up people, dude. You have to have somebody who's cool. The hero in that movie was basically, it wasn't Robert De Niro. It was the people who I empathized with the most were Edward Norton's character and Mila Jovovich's character, especially Mila Jovovich's character. And that guy, Robert De Niro, even though he made the right decision to let Edward Norton go, is a fucking asshole. But I guess that was the whole point of it. His wife leaves him at the end of the movie because he was screwing around with Mila Jovovich. But, Edward Norton, he, has a spiritual epiphany. And all of a sudden, he can, hear the sound of God. And he wanted to share it with Robert De Niro. And Robert De Niro was like, "You're crazy, And then Mila Jovovich was like... It was totally unrealistic how, he would totally change and she wouldn't like him. But I guess she liked him because he was a punk dude. And she liked punk dudes. Which is weird because she's a teacher. So it's like... That wasn't realistic. But she was freaked out that he changed. So she wanted to get Robert De Niro's advice and, how to deal with it. And he was like, "Oh, no. Don't talk to me." He got all freaked out, so I didn't like Stone. I thought it was stupid. But the Mila Jovovich character, I thought she was genuine and cool. You see her tits in it, too. Owels of Gaul. This was an animation cartoon of a movie. It's like these owls, and they get captured because they left the nest before they could fly. Then they're taken to the Bat Owl cave, and then one of the owls, the boy owls, turns evil, and then the other one escapes and turns good, and then they have this battle, and then the good owl and the bad owl, the brothers have a fight, and he kills the bad one. I thought it was entertaining, and there was really good, I like the kind of animation and adventure, but I thought it was really distasteful and cruel and cold, especially if it's a children's movie, that they would kill the younger brother owl. I mean, he's just a kid. He only learned how to fly yesterday. And how could they become expert flyers in the course of 2 days from not being able to fly at all? But he kills his brother. They have a fight, and then he burns in the fire and dies. And it's and then they have the party at the end, and nobody cares about how the brother died. It's cold and why would he turn so evil anyways? I mean, even when he knows that the bad guys are losing, he's like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna kill you." That wasn't realistic at all. That bothered me. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Paranormal Activity. Paranormal Activity is a movie about. I see these movies at the $1 movie theater, so it's not my choice to see these movies. It was before I got my laptop, and I wanted to watch movies as kind of a way to decompress my brain. And so, anyways, Paranormal Activity. There's one playing, so I watch it. It's a movie, but it's so that you can pretend that the movie was about taken from scenery from the TV. Anyways, it's this house that's haunted, and there are these spirits who pull some lady down the stairs, and you can see her getting pulled, and then the guy watches it and he freaks out, and then she goes crazy. She gets possessed by some kind of evil force because there was some curse put on the family, and she kills the husband and the babysitter or somebody. Kills the husband and the neighbor or the sister or something, and then takes the baby because that was the payment. And I guess people were scared by that movie. But I mean, and I tried to get myself into the mindset of get scared, but I guess I'm too old now, it's too far out of what I believe to be believable that it was just like, I was kind of bored with it. I was just like, yeah. And I think how you could even get scared, it just speaks to how people these days are just like not, they don't have a grasp on reality, on what's realistic and what's not. I mean, some like ghost isn't going to grab you and pull you down the stairs, and they can't, possess you to take a baby. I mean, people can get possessed and go crazy and kill people, but not for like a specific purpose like that. So, okay. Hangbang I saw like 2 days ago. I think it's like a Thai movie. I got it at Netflix. Netflix has lots of B movies, so you want to be careful about that, and a lot of old movies. So, yeah, the selection, they don't get not all their movies are the best. But I got Hangbang. I thought it was going to be like some like fighter movie, and it was like a period piece from like 1,000 years ago or something, in like the Thai kingdom, Sukhothai or something, and it was like some kid. I guess it was a sequel. Some kid gets captured, and then he like gets, I guess, beaten or something, and it makes somehow his fingers become like this, and then he was really emotional and sad, and then he was taken in by a monk who helped him practice his Thai dance. I guess it's this dance they do that's also, it's kind of like isometric movements, and it's good for fighting. And I wanted to like copy it because it was a really cool dance and it'd be fun to try, but I forgot to, and I returned the movie. But yeah, it was just tons of fighting, and I didn't really like it. I mean, by the standards of American movie, it was total crap. I mean, the fight scenes were really stupid, just something like a high school kid could make, like the guy who's like, and then falls over, and but yeah, and then they had like some guy who's like some magical powers and can kick everybody's ass. That's some weird thing about Asian movies, man. Like, they've got these people, and they've got like, I mean, they're like normal people who pop out of nowhere, but they've got superpowers. Like, they can run across the tops of trees and like jump from one building to the next. And oh yeah, like that other movie with what was it called? I can't remember, but with that girl. Anyways, yeah, not realistic, dude. I don't like that kind of stuff. Like super heroes, like people with amazing powers more than everybody else, and it's like really superstitious that they've got that belief in those Asian movies. Yeah, he was just, and then he could like put a spell on the king, and he went crazy, and then he like took his powers or took his kingdom, and yeah, so then like the hero came and kicked his ass. So like all of a sudden the hero is a better fighter than this like super god person who can kill entire armies all by himself, and this like kid who just did his dance for a bit could kick his ass. I don't know, wasn't realistic. The dancing was cool though. Triage, I saw Triage the other day. Colin Farrell is this like war zone photographer, and he goes into like I guess northern Iraq, Kurdistan. This is back when they were doing films, so it's like 15 years ago or something, and with his buddy, and then he comes back without his buddy, and he's like, oh, his buddy, he didn't come back, and it turns out that he never came back, and he was acting weird, so his girlfriend, who's I can't remember her name, she gets her grandfather, who's like a psychologist, to go and like do mind games on him, and then he comes clean. And I guess what happened was his friend got killed, and he just didn't want to say it. But it was an interesting movie, but it really bothered me how it wasn't realistic, where his friend got killed because they were going to go out and do this mission, and then they got some photos, and then they decided it was too dangerous, so they were just going to walk back to the home base, which is 20 miles away. But next thing you know, they're in some field, and then his friend gets his legs blown off by like I guess an attack or something, or steps on a mine or something. So then he carries his friend, and then next thing you know, they have to cross a river, and there's no place to cross. It's like, why didn't they just go back the same way that they went there on these the same roads that these big trucks drove, And then he wakes up in the hospital, and It's like, what, did he pass out on the river and then somebody picked him up from the river and took him to the hospital? That was like way too many holes. And I don't like it how movies have holes like that, man. It pisses me off. I mean, if I was a movie critic, I would rate movies based on how fucking realistic they were. You know, if a movie isn't realistic, then I have to give it a thumbs down. So, you know, in that case, thumbs down for, well, obviously, I didn't like Owels of Gaul or Paranormal Activity. Thumbs down for Hangbang. Thumbs down for Triage, too, just because of that. Okay, kind of love story. This is a movie, I think that's what it's called, that I got from Netflix, with Forrest Whitaker and Renelle Zellweger. And she's this lady who, like, she, I guess, got in a car accident and her husband died, and then they took her kid away because she was in a coma, and he was 3 years old, and when she was in the hospital, she met this other dude, Forrest Whitaker, who was like a schizo, and he saw visions, and he saw stuff that nobody else saw, and heard voices that nobody else heard, and he thought that they were real, and he'd try to convince people that they were real, and they didn't believe him, so then he'd like freak out, and then they'd have to take him back to the thing. And they went on this road trip because he saw this thing in her house, that it was a letter that her son gave her, that inviting her to go to his communion, but she didn't want to go for some reason. She thought she could never get him back, so then they go on the road trip, and in the end they see the son, and then I guess he comes and moves back in with her. But yeah, that was a good movie. I liked it. It was I like the movie because the people in the movie were nice. I don't like movies where all the people you meet are bad. Too many movies are like that. I don't want to see any more movies like that where people are bad. I mean, they did have come across a criminal, Nick Nolte, but he was a good guy too to them because he was going to drive them to their place and stuff. But he did a really stupid thing. He whips out a gun and starts chasing after a car and whips out a gun and shoots at it when he's like a felon, and if the cops catch him, he gets thrown in jail. So that wasn't realistic. Nobody would ever actually do that in real life. Put their fucking freedom on the line for people he doesn't even know. How stupid. So, okay, thumbs down on that movie just because of that. Okay, Due Date. This is Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis. And yeah, Robert Downey Jr. meets Zach Galifianakis in the airport. And I guess Robert Downey Jr. freaks out because of some problem that Zach Galifianakis caused him. So he can't get on the plane, but he has to get back to L.A. to be there for the birth of his kid, his first baby. So then Zach Galifianakis has rented a car and invites him to go along and take him. And so then Zach Galifianakis is this character who's just this like idiot. And it was kind of entertaining, and I saw the reviews. I like to see the reviews on the internet of all the movies that I see, just to see what other people have to say about it. Like Current with that really, 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 really fucking hot chick. What's her name? And then that other dude. And then I guess the Young Turks have the one where they get the people from Rotten Tomatoes, and those are the ones I like the most. And then Richard Roeper. But yeah, they didn't like that movie because they thought it was unrealistic that Zach Galifianakis could even survive being that stupid. But I thought it was I didn't like how Robert Downey Jr.'s character was such an asshole. He was just really rude throughout the whole thing, and I didn't want to see him be successful in it. I didn't know how he could have friends or anything. He was just a dick, and yeah, I don't know how you can have a comedy where the characters are assholes. Like, he's on the phone on a car that this guy has invited him to ride on, and he's like, hey, and the guy's like, hey, what's up? I'm Johnny, and then his wife is a bitch too. She's like, like, and then he gets the phone back and see, that's what I'm dealing with, like right in front of the guy. That was rude, man. But then Zach Galifianakis breaks him out of jail because I guess he got busted for like being stoned or something. And that was cool of him to do that, and then they become friends in the end because of that. I don't know. There's too many holes in that. Thumbs down on that. 127 hours. That's I can't remember his name. Anyways, yeah, he stars as that dude Aaron, who falls in the who's going down the crag in Canyonlands, pulls the rock, and then it snaps his hand up against the wall, and he can't get free. And yeah, that was a good movie. I like that because it showed how he thought he was going to die, and he was kind of reliving his life. And but like when there was that big flood, how come he didn't fill up his water bottle? He could have filled up his water bottle and his bag, and he'd have enough water for another few days. You can go 3 weeks without food, you know. He would have been fine. But yeah, but it retold a true story, and it's interesting how that guy Aaron Ralston, who lives in Boulder, thought he was going to die, and he gave up, and then all of a sudden he realized that he could cut his arm off by breaking his arm. Now I would think if it's life or death, he would have realized that earlier, you know, so that he had to just break his arm and would have just broken that arm right then the very first day. So it's interesting that, I mean, I'm not saying that I wouldn't have done the same thing, but it's just an interesting thing about it. But yeah, really beautiful scenery. And like that, the beginning of the movie when they're shimmying through the thing and then they drop. Is that real? Is that a real place? Because if so, I want to do that, man. Oh my god. Okay. Green Hornet. I don't have much to say about the Green Hornet. I'm neutral on the Green Hornet. You know, just another, you know, like mindless action movie. One thing that was kind of funny though is like a newspaper owner being that rich. In 10 years, it's going to be comical that a newspaper owner could be that rich, man. Okay, romantics. Okay, yeah. This is Katie. Katie. Man, I'm not remembering names today. My brain's not working right. The wife of Tom Cruise, that Katie chick, and then that other dude, whose name I can't remember. Anyways, he's getting married. All their friends go to the wedding, which is the next day, and that chick, Katie, was the ex-girlfriend of the groom and also like best friends of the bride. And she's like really sad that he's getting married because she's still in love with him, and then I guess he's still in love with her. And they had this like this scene where they meet up, and it's just them hanging out, and then they have like the confrontation, like, why are you getting married? You know, oh, you broke up with me though, and oh, but you were, I don't know why she broke up with him. Why did she break up with him? If she broke up with him, then why in the fuck is she still in love with him? But anyways, that was an interesting scene. In the hands of better actors, it would have been a really good scene, but I don't think they were really good. Either of them were really good actors, so I wasn't really enthralled with it. But in really good actors, that could have been a really good scene. I also did Bridesmaid, Bride Wars. There we go. I'm remembering movies as I go down. Okay, let's go. The Beaver. I saw The Beaver just a few days ago because this dude came up to me in a Starbucks and just gave me a free ticket to like a screening of it. So I went to the movie theater and I saw it. And yes, Mel Gibson, he's this like owner of a toy company who is depressed. So he's about to commit suicide. And then all of a sudden this beaver he had on his hand comes to life and tells him not to commit suicide and takes over his life. And has an idea to make a beaver making kit, a wood chopping beaver kit. Wow. That brings his company back to life and does quite well. But then he wants to become free of the beaver, so he cuts his hand off. That's the only way to become free of the beaver. The beaver like took over his life. So I guess when he did that, people stopped buying the kit, and he resigned and from his job. But at the end, like he was reconciling with his family, and you know it had like a happy ending. He was going to try and come back to life, you know. But one thing that did not make any sense with that movie, I'm going to have to end up giving it a hands down because of this, is why in the hell was that guy depressed? He had everything. Like his wife was totally like loved him, you know? His youngest son loved him. His oldest son didn't like him, but his oldest son was like of that age, you know? He was like a high school junior or senior, high school senior. But I mean, and he's like a rich dude, owner of a company. It's like, what the hell? I guess his dad died 2 years beforehand and he took over the company, but why would you be so depressed? Probably a lot of people aren't going to understand me when I say that, but damn, dude. What a loser. Don't get depressed if you're in that situation. I can name a lot more people that would be more likely to be depressed than him. But anyways, I guess, I don't know, maybe you go nuts, your brain doesn't work right, and you should have gotten on the medication, seen the doctor, which I guess you hadn't seen. But yeah, good acting, and it was entertaining. I liked how it came with the son's like girlfriend, the girl. And she did the speech at the end, like, oh, all that matters is that you have people who love you. And yeah, so good message. Okay, so I give the thumbs up on that, even though it's not realistic that that guy would get depressed. Time Traveler's Wife. Okay, that stars that Australian dude, whose name I can't remember, and Rachel McAdams, who's like the hottest fucking girl ever. Okay, I really like that movie. Thumbs up, big thumbs up. Even though obviously it's completely implausible, it's a really cool idea. He's this time traveler who like he's always traveling through time. I mean, he lives a normal life like everybody else, but he like disappears from time to time from his normal life and then appears like in the past, like in places around, I guess, where he was for like a day or two, and then he bops back. So like, and so it's his relationship with this girl, how he was always time traveling back to when she was a little girl all the time, and they'd hang out, and then they'd meet later on, and then they got married and had a daughter, and then she could time travel at will, and it's hard to explain, but I liked it. I really liked it, and I recommend that. That's a good movie. Oh yeah, that other movie I saw with Rachel McAdams called Cable News. I'll call it Cable News. You'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, Gamer. I saw that just like 2 nights ago. That's starring Gerard Butler, that Scottish dude who starred in 300. And he's this like inmate, death row inmate. It's the future. He's this death row inmate. And it's like Call of Duty, you know, where you're out and you're shooting and killing, only it's real. And he's the actual character. But he's being played by this kid who like plays him and completely controls his body. He can't control his body at all. I guess all he can control is the finger, pulling the trigger. And they like make a really good team. So he survived all the levels, and it's looking like he might survive all of them and get free. But then he escapes and ends up killing the boss of the company, who's like has plans on controlling the entire world, installing a chip, because I guess he could take over everybody's brain in the whole world just by like disseminating powder on them, and then they inhale it, and then the nanobots take control of their brain and stuff. I thought that was a good movie. It's one of these future movies, and it was kind of like cynical about the future, because like they have this future where they have this other thing called like the scene or something, where it's kind of like real life. What's that movie people like, that little game, internet game people like to play, Real Life, where you can be a person and you go around and you can like have transactions, buy stuff, and have friends and stuff by walking around in your character. But so like they would like possess other people's bodies and walk around, and like, so they'd have these like really fat, disgusting old people and all kinds of like losers pay to take over the body of like a young fit person and like be at party, and they're all these like they're total idiots. They're like hitting on each other, and they're just like and it's like creepy as hell, but it was interesting. But it's just funny how people have views of the future. I mean, I know it's just for entertainment and funny, but it's people have all these views of futuristic movies about like where it's just a fucked up future, like apocalyptic, like one guy controls everything. People are totally numb to compassion. And there's another movie called The Book of Eli, which I want to get. I think it's on Netflix, and it's another like apocalyptic future movie. And it's like every single movie, like literally like 100%. I can't even name a single one. Except for Star Trek. Yeah, so like 99% of the movies, the future isn't like a utopian world. It's just like fucked up world. So people can't, you see movies like this and you can tell how normal people can't imagine. They can't get their heads past the next like 2 years. They just can't imagine a utopian world where we have world peace and we use all of the technology for our good, so we can all live like 500 years and travel all over the world, do whatever we want, never have to work. You only work to like make extra money to do more stuff and own more things. But if you just want to be a basic person, you can totally do that, because the GDP is so strong, because we're not wasting money on war and incarcerating people yeah, I'd love to see a movie like that, where it's just a utopian world and it's people having fun and doing just wild and wacky crazy things. You know, like all the people are just amazing. Like almost another this is kind of getting onto another subject, but like people are like another race completely. You know, they're so physically fit that they're just badasses. You know, like pretty soon they're gonna have CrossFit. It's gonna be a really important sport, popular sport. Have a movie where they go and see the CrossFit games, and these people are like, you know, dumbbell squat, pressing like 300 pounds for reps, like you know, like girls are doing that, and they're just like badass, and then they, you know, but they're really smart and they know every single thing about the past, and that would just be a cool movie. Anyways, let's move on. Duchess. This is a historical movie. I love historical movies, and this is an accurate historical movie, starring Keira Knightley and Ralph Fiennes, and she's this woman who lived back in like 1760 to 1790, like 1800, late 1700s in England. And she's this woman who was a duchess, but then they took in another woman who the man was having an affair with. So it was like he had two wives, and then she died and he ended up marrying the other woman. But like she had an affair with this other guy, Dorian Gray, or no, not him, some other dude, who, that's an Oscar Wilde character, who ended up becoming prime minister, but she had a baby by him, so she had to give up the baby, and it kind of to his family, and it kind of shows how like the Duke had all this power, and like his wife couldn't do anything, you know. It's kind of interesting like that. But the most interesting part about it was like all of the, and I actually saved all the screen captures of all the scenes of the guy's house. They had the guards standing around, and the huge posters around the house, and the huge library, and the pillars inside the house, and giant estate of like hundreds of acres of perfectly cut, trimmed yards with all these people working on. I mean, extravagance. Those people were loaded, man. Yeah, classism up the ass back then. My God. Yeah, you should check that out. Big thumbs up for that. Now, this other movie, I don't remember it. It was one of these B Netflix movies starring, I can't remember. But it was so bad. Oh, my God. It was about this kingdom. There's like this bad king who took over the kingdom. And, God, it was a fucking total disaster of a movie. I can't believe it. I mean, the king had these bodyguard ladies. And then, so they were supposed to chase after the bad guy because, I guess, the princess, somebody escaped. And then one of the bodyguard ladies decided that she was going to, like, try and kill all of her friends because she didn't want to be second in command, which is totally unrealistic. So then, I guess they killed her, and then there's this little midget dude who was, like, supposed to be 1,000 years old, and he, like, knew everything, and he'd, like, appear and disappear. And as soon as they survived or something, the bad king, he just, like, disappeared. He just, like, evaporated, and that was the end of the movie. So bad. Okay, Robin Hood, starring Russell Crowe. I really liked Robin Hood. And it was actually kind of historically accurate. I think it was the only Robin Hood that I've seen that actually is borderline historically accurate, because Robin Hood in real life was I think he was an archer in the Crusades with William Lionheart. And in the movie, William the Lionheart gets shot with an arrow in the neck and dies. And that's while he was besieging some French castle on the way home, and that really happened. And then his brother John, Bad King John, took over, and was a total criminal despot, terrorizing all of the other people and all of the other nobles. And in real life, that's what he did. And then he did it so much that they actually created the Magna Carta, which was like turned it into, instead of an absolute monarchy, a constitutional monarchy, where the king had limited control and he had to have a parliament, the invention of a parliament. And in the movie, they have it where Robin Hood, Russell Crowe, actually brought up the idea to having a Magna Carta that the king was going to sign, but then he decided not to sign it. So I mean, they did change it a lot, but I mean, compared to other movies, it was pretty historically accurate. And but I mean, I'm hoping in like 10 or 20 years, a movie like, Robin Hood is going to be a total insult to history. I think movies need to be 100% historically accurate from now on. Or at least starting in 5 years. Starting within 1 year after I'm done with my timeline. Every single movie needs to be 100% historically accurate, because there's going to be no excuse not to know everything to know about history once my timeline is out. So, but anyways, I give that a thumbs up because they had really good scenes of like the ocean, of the battles and the landscape and the siege of the big navy that comes and tries to take over, and it was really cool. And I think there was an invasion during that time from France. Anyways, True Grit. Okay, I guess that was a remake from a John Wayne movie, and it was starring Jeff Bridges, who is this like drunken lawman who was hired by this 13-year-old girl to go out and kill the murderer of her father, some like bad guy who came and shot her father in the night, and so she wanted to get revenge, and so she paid this dude, but she wanted to come along, so she went along, but then there was this other like bounty hunter dude who was also trying to get him for something else, Matt Damon. So they team up. Jeff Bridges and the girl and Matt Damon team up, and they go out and they get this guy and they kill him, and then that was good. But she falls down a hole and gets her arm bit, and so then he rides the horse through the night until the horse dies, drops dead of exhaustion. Then he carries her on his back and gets her there just in time, and they cut her arm off, and he saved her life. And then she wanted to thank him like 30 years later, but he had just died or something. But that was a good movie, man. Good acting. Yeah, it seemed like accurate as far as that. The girl did a great job. My God, really, really, really powerful girl actress, man. That was good. Okay, King's Speech. I saw that movie, but I passed out like a half hour before the end of it, or 20 minutes before the end of it. I was just tired or something in the theater. But they're looping it actually right now in the movie theater in Gold, so I'm gonna go and check it out there. But yeah, Colin Firth is the King George VI, the guy who had the stuttering problem during World War II, the father of Queen Elizabeth. And he took over the throne because his older brother, Edward or something, abdicated because he married a divorced American woman and couldn't be king because of that. And it's the story about how he was a really bad stammerer, and he every time he tried to do a public speech, he'd just be like, and yeah, it was cool. It was a good like period piece. Shows how the mentality was back then. I guess back in those days, they thought that people couldn't speak. If you had a stammering problem, it was a physical problem. So they would put like marbles in your mouth, and you're supposed to like talk through the marbles because it's like gonna like you had a problem with like the muscle in your tongue, or there was the wrong shape of your mouth or something. They didn't realize that it was a psychological problem. And I guess this Australian dude played by that other dude was the guy who was in Pirates of the Caribbean, was he was like the only guy who knew that it was a psychological problem. So he would actually be his psychologist and ask him questions about his childhood, and then he would have to practice speaking like if he was the only person in the world, and like block all the negativity out of his mind, like criticism. So I guess he was a stammerer because when he was abused when he was a child by his family, they'd like call him, make fun of him, and then they would like, I guess they had a maid who like locked him in the closet or something. And it's weird how like the royal family could have that many problems, you know. It's interesting. I guess every family, no matter how rich you are, you still get like workers in there who abuse your kids, and like you abuse your kid. And they actually showed at the beginning the king, his father was like abusing him, like, come on, do it, boy, go. But yeah. So and at the end he gives the speech, and I heard it on YouTube, the real speech, and it was good. So yeah, I guess even if you're a royal, you have problems. And I guess the Queen really liked the movie too. So okay, Little Fockers. I liked Little Fockers. I saw it in the theater. It was really funny, man. I mean, I'd almost even want to rent it again just to see it again. Yeah, you know, starring Ben Stiller. He's like this really like he's really eager to please his father-in-law, Robert De Niro, but he also gets pissed off if he feels like he's getting disrespected. So then he like. And Robert De Niro's like way, way, way too paranoid, and is like always investigating and thinks that he's like his son-in-law is like two-timing on his daughter, because I guess the other son-in-law did that. And so anyways, it was funny. So that's about all I have to say about that. Tron. Okay, I saw that in the theater. I passed out on that one about a half hour before the end of it. It was kind of good. The girls in there were really hot, man. The two girls dressed up like that. Really hot. Yeah, it was kind of like Matrix. Like the bad guy was going to come out of the machine and take over the world. And at the end, he actually does come out of the machine and brings the girl with him. So they materialize like a computer person into a girl. So I guess that would have happened. So he saved the whole world from Evil Man. But yeah, interesting how people are starting to think like maybe it's kind of like the beginnings of people starting to think like, yeah, maybe there can be a relationship between the higher dimensions, the spiritual world, the electronic world, and the physical world here. Like, electronic world can become into the physical world. The spiritual world can get manifested into the physical world. It all starts in the spiritual world and then comes here, and you can like manifest a body out of thin air, which I believe aliens can do that. They manifest bodies out of thin air. So, okay, Bride Wars. That was starring Kate Hudson and that other girl. Who's in that other movie that I could do a review on that I can't remember? Starring Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay, that was a pretty good movie. I thought it was entertaining. Kate Hudson is a really good actress. Like, I'm surprised she's not in more movies and in better movies. I'm surprised she's not like the number one actress, and I think maybe she will be. I mean, I think she's the best actress out there. She's really good. But yeah, there are these two girls. They're both going to get married, and they had to get married in the same church on the same day, and so one of them had to back up. And I don't understand why couldn't they just both do it at the same time, but so they started backstabbing each other, and then they reconciled at the very end. But that was pretty good. But there's one part that was really unrealistic, and that is that all of a sudden, Kate Hudson's brother, is like in love. Turns out she's in love with the other girl. What's her name? With her friend. The girl who's going to get married. And so, like, all of a sudden, like, she dumps her husband on the altar and then gets together with her brother, like, out of the blue. Like, what the fuck? Okay. And then there's another one, Cable News. I don't think that's the name of it, but it's with Rachel McAdams, who is way hot. And, Harrison Ford and, that other lady. And she's like the manager of the cable news channel, and I guess it's not even a news channel. It's like a talk show, morning talk show, and she gets Harrison Ford to do it because she had him bound by contract by like the big company, and he had to do it, but he didn't want to. He thought it was beneath him because he was a big time news reporter, but he got fired for some reason. And anyways, so it's like how she reconciles him to be like in the role of doing that show and being happy with it. And I liked it. It was good. It kind of showed the industry a little bit, how that works and stuff, and how she was like a really like, even though she was young, she like knew exactly what to do. It was really aggressive and was like really good worker, and that was cool. Okay, so then this other movie called starring Jake Gyllenhaal and that other girl who was in Bride Wars. And he's just like, he sells I guess the predecessor to, no, he sells Viagra when it was first invented. And he started making a lot of money, and then he meets some girl who's got Parkinson's disease, and he wanted to stay with her, and it's a love story, and he was going to try help her with that, but then he was going to, and yeah, even though she was going to turn into like a old lady at a young age. Yeah, that was a good movie. Don't really have much to say about that, actually. I just included it in here because I remembered it. You see that girl's tits. Okay, yeah, not much to say about that. Yeah, basically, I think movies are like a really good, they're a barometer to show how we are. If the thing turns off before I'm done talking, it's because I didn't have anything else to say anyways, because the battery's about to die. And something happened with the power system in my car, so I can't plug it into my car. But yeah, I think movies are a really good barometer on how we think as a whole, as a species, and the movies that they have coming out these days. Number one, they're not historically accurate. That pisses me off. That shows that people don't know shit about history and they're not interested in it. Number two, they have futures that are like where stuff is bad, where people degenerated as society, went down and in evolution, not as compassionate, not as smart, and used up all the resources. Somebody actually emailed me. Somebody put together a timeline because they knew I was doing a history timeline, and somebody else actually did a history timeline, but it was only for the future. And I'm going to include a future history timeline in my timeline, but I looked at this person's future history timeline briefly, and it's exactly what you would think. It's like somebody freaking made one of these people who make the movies. It's all like apocalyptic. By the year 2040, we run out of oil. By the year 2060, it's two classes, the rich people and the poor people. By the year 2100, the two classes are now two different species. And now we've got pollution, and it's like, geez, dude, come on, man. The world isn't designed to get to this, to get to all these possibilities of utopia, which we could have right now if we spend our money on hydroponic skyscrapers for fresh fruit, organic fruits and vegetables instead of cattle. If we spend our money on solar powers and wind generators instead of fucking wars. If we all lived in our vans using minimal resources and traveling around all the time, getting to know each other and communicating, and so that we don't fight, instead of living in these big houses and like wasting. I mean, look, we could live in big houses and all that stuff if all the other stuff was in order. But it's just a good way to not use all the resources in the way that we're using resources. And it's like all these things that we can do, man. We waste so much time, patrolling and security and all this stuff. Yeah, dude, if we didn't waste all that money. Anyways, I don't want to get in on it, but yeah, people have a negative view of the future because we're fucking living wrong right now. But that's another video. But anyways, you can see that in movies. You see in movies of the future, and it's all like Armageddon, That's all people can imagine is the negative. Because we're living stupidly right now, but that's another video. Okay, and then another thing about, I guess what I see about movies is, people are dicks, man. People are assholes in movies. Way more assholes than they are in real life. Like in movies, have you ever noticed they always just hang up? It's like, hey, what's up? Okay, ching. People don't do that in real life. They go, okay, bye, have a nice day, boom. And then people are just rude, like in that movie Due Date. That's who I'm dealing with, see? Like talking trash to all the people right in front of him. He's like, hey, you're his wife? And she's like, like people are assholes in movies. I don't know why, but every time I see a movie, somebody just acts in a dick. And I'm like, why are you, what in the fuck? Oh, I saw Crank 2 the other day. That was good. With Jason Statham, he's like, the entire movie, he has to find his heart. Because he's he has an artificial heart in him. They grabbed him and they took his heart out, put it in some old gangster because he liked his heart. And so then they ended up putting his heart back in him at the end of the movie. But he's like running around and he has to like. I mean, this is really implausible, but it was creatively implausible. So I liked it. Like he had to recharge his generator in his heart by like rubbing up against people. And then he got himself jump-started with a car by attaching it to his thumb and his nipple. And then that recharged his his pacemaker, his heart pumper. So yeah, totally unrealistic. But I like that kind of stuff that's over the top and realistic. It turns into a stupid movie when it's totally unrealistic, but you think you're being realistic. Kind of like how Richard Roper had to say about the French Job or the Italian Job, the French, with John Travolta and Jonathan Rhys Meyers. I didn't see that movie, but anyways, yeah, man. So I have to give thumbs down to most of the movies I see. I only see them because it's like something to do, and I can do it in my van at night, and it's kind of decompress my brain. But I think I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna start just watching videos that I collect instead of that shit because it's just too many holes, man. But there's some movies I want to see, like Source Code. That seems like a good movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and What other movie would I want to see? Any historical movies. They need to come out with more historical movies, but really accurate ones. Okay, so that's me doing movie reviews. Peace out.